What's up, everyone? Today I want to talk about Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook, who recently did a discussion with a class in China in Chinese, Mandarin Chinese, for about 30 minutes. It was like a sort of presentation or discussion, lecture, uh, and somewhat of a Q&A with these students of this university. So, what am I going to talk about? My review on it from a Chinese American perspective. And I'm sure a lot of people want to know a lot of things about it, like how good was his Chinese actually? So, first off, I really want to applaud him for this. Um, for some reason, everyone goes crazy when an American or someone non native to China can speak Chinese at even a mediocre level, and Mark Zuckerberg did. And it is somewhat peculiar how if a non-native of America speaks English, it's not a big deal. One could argue that Chinese is a lot harder to learn, um, although if that's true or not, I don't know. I don't want to be biased, but I definitely think it's much harder than English in a lot of ways. So, first off, Zuckerberg did a pretty decent job in terms of comprehending what they were asking. Were they speaking slowly to Zuckerberg? Yes. They weren't. They obviously weren't speaking super fast. The same thing with like Spanish. You've seen Spanish newscasters speak Spanish or Spanish soap opera or drama. They can speak very quickly. Um, but then when you're in class or you're speaking to a Spanish person and you're, a student who's taking Spanish but can't really speak it well, they'll speak slowly to you. So that's what was going on. But regardless, I was very much impressed at his ability to comprehend and understand the vocabulary of all these people. And that was commendable because as a Chinese American, I'm not Spanish, my Chinese is uh, it's at a mediocre level. I cannot understand difficult words like for instance in English. I'm sure if I spoke complex or difficult word like extrapolate, people won't understand what that means. But if you talk to a person who's not from America, you want to avoid these words. And I feel like, unfortunately, when he was doing his talk, um, by the nature of it, occasionally some difficult words would pop up, and I was just very much surprised because knew for sure I would have not comprehended things as well as he did. And it's not just complicated words; it's just the amount of words that he knows in the grammatical structure that Chinese uses, which is different, very different from English, and a lot of other little things, and just a wide vocabulary. And for him to even understand it and comprehend it and commit to doing a speech in it, I applaud him for this. This is one of those reasons why Mark Zuckerberg deserves where he is. He's already rich, and yet he's still striving to learn about this. He says in his lecture to these students that 我的外婆是中国人. Basically, my wife is from China, um, and therefore, this man did not need to do this. His wife could have been Chinese American, and he could have just been like, heck, doesn't really matter because he met his wife in Harvard, and she's pretty much American, but she can speak Chinese. And for him to go out of his way and challenge his mind to do that, it's amazing. And again, there's obviously a huge disparity. Like, if you can speak Chinese well as an American, it's just like people are just really amazed by it. I don't know what it is. There's that scarcity thing, and there's also that it's one of those things where it's I guess it's more difficult, but it's not like something insurmountable. Um, there's a lot of just normal people who aren't rich who are from places like America who do speak Mandarin well and did not grow up in China to do that. And I applaud them. And they are not people who are rich or famous or any of that, like Mark Zuckerberg. And they were able to do that and speak very well to the population there. A great example. And I don't know if he's rich or not, but it doesn't seem like he is. There's this man who his name's like something Portman, and he actually spent many years in China to help Jack Ma start up Alibaba, which ended up being the largest IPO in U.S. history in terms of publicly traded companies. Anyhow, back to Mark Zuckerberg's speech. I felt, okay, let's just be honest here. Here's the truth of the matter. He was able to comprehend and understand things well, but the way he spoke, one, it was, the pronunciation was not good at all. I was actually very much excited about the video. I sort of realized that the way he pronounced things was, and excuse my language, but it's just the most accurate way to describe it. No offense to him. I applaud him consistently, but it sounded like he was being choked to death and was somewhat retarded when he spoke. It's like if I spoke English and I was like choking myself and my words were all over the place, where the enunciations were off, but you still understand me, right? And so his pronunciation needed some work, but I'm sure everyone got the gist of what he was saying. Everyone understand what he was saying. His pronunciation obviously was not great. He was clearly not a native. But for him, like, as far as his verbiage, his grammar, the actual words he was saying, they were very much on point. Although it was very slow, although sometimes he had to pause and really think about it, it was on point for the most part. And Chinese is everyone feels like it's going to be the next global language if it already isn't starting to be. And I'm not the only one saying this. I was just someone who's sort of a bystander of this, but it's very much clear now that everyone has their eyes on China, and everyone thinks China's going to be the next big thing. So it's just really ridiculous, and at the same time very it was a very good decision on Mark Zuckerberg's part. Anyone who learns Mandarin and applies it well will go a lot of places. You have a lot more advantages than someone who doesn't. And that's so true for people who are Americans and can speak Mandarin. There's not a lot of people out there who can do that, and there's a lot of Chinese businesses who want really a good facilitator to between America and English companies, and they all still play big parts. So Mandarin is very important, and Zuckerberg has realized that. Zuckerberg obviously also realizes the importance of global markets for Facebook, such as China. But if you look at history, like he started, he already knew about this years ago. I mean, his wife was Chinese, but he failed. And there's a lot of reasons for this. I don't know everything off the top of my head. I actually have a shallow understanding. But I guess it's the same thing for why a lot of American companies fail in China. They fail to conform and change to the local and cultural, the local and cultural background of where they're trying to invade into, or not necessarily invade. That just sounds so bad, but open up their marketplace to. And they feel like this structure that we used in the United States or Britain for Facebook, it works perfectly. So we're going to use that same structure in China. that doesn't always apply. Like that's been proven so many times. Just look at eBay and Alibaba. eBay tried to do the same thing. Alibaba just smoked them. And that wasn't the only reason, but um, I think you get the point. So Facebook's like officially out of China. Same with Google. Um, but still, he's still trying to keep up with things, and it's quite amazing. So if he could, like, if he didn't pause so much and he could speak much quicker, maybe add some more vocabulary and just speak more quicker, work on his grammar more. And obviously his biggest problem is pronunciation. If he can pronounce things right, with the right tonality and everything, um, that would make him very close to a native speaker. Obviously, he has a long way to go, but he's already done a lot, and that's commendable. Um, and I don't think most people understand the difficulty of Chinese. First off, the alphabet's an amazing thing in the fact that there's like 26 letters, and if you just recombine them in different orders, you can form words and then read those letters out and be able to pronounce the word based off what you're reading. And if you don't know the word, you can deduce the pronunciation off of it. That's not true for Chinese. They're just characters. You have to memorize every single character and then just recognize it. There's a symbol for dog, symbol for cat, and it goes on. And it's a huge memory drain. And I feel like a huge time waste for all these children who have to spend a lot more time in school and a lot more brain power memorizing word after word after word and reciting it and repeating it in order to create speech. And as far as the grammar for Chinese, it's very much different from English. So it is amazing. And the biggest thing, though, is why do I keep stressing pronunciation? Like, first off, it's obviously a problem if you know any languages. First, in the fact that with pronunciations, you get those instances where, if you're, for instance, speak native French and you come to America, your English is going to be off. And it's going to sound, like you're a French immigrant. But for Chinese, it's more so than that because words, you can say the same word and based on your intonation mean completely different things because different intonations of the same word create different words. So the word for horse is ma, but then if you change the tone of that and say the same word, ma, it can become mother or something else entirely. And it's like that for a lot of words. And there can be up to 4 different pronunciations for that same word. So it's crazy. And that's all we want to say in a nutshell about Mark Zuckerberg's speech. Very commendable, hugely wise move in my eyes. A lot of people should strive towards it. And there's been a lot of Americans, not a lot, but there are Americans who have gone the distance and been able to do it, which is ridiculous. On the flip side, though, it can be tough. And again, as a disclaimer, I'm not some sort of expert at Chinese. In fact, in terms of Chinese Americans, maybe it's just the males or just the males in my area. Like if you look at Jeremy Lin or anyone else, I mean, there's plenty of Chinese Americans, especially females, who can just speak Chinese and even sometimes read and write it fairly well. But again, there's definitely a gradient for Chinese Americans. Reading and writing are the first to go because of the huge memorization that you need to take in and then keep up with just to read and write consistently. So I'm not some expert at Chinese at all. In fact, I'm quite mediocre. But that's my whole take on the whole Mark Zuckerberg issue that happened. As always, like, favorite, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video for other talks and videos on business, success, self-help, life, health, fitness, and other topics. I'll see you guys later. Oh yes, and entertainment. music, whatever have you on the channel. Thanks for watching. See ya.